Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to discuss the topic and question of, can eating too much fruit make you overweight? And I'm going to dive right into this, not going to waste any time. The simple fact of the matter is, the answer is, it depends. Because eating too much, and let me just get into very quickly, I'm not going to bore you and bombard you with a lot of technical details, but when you eat food, you're basically taking in calories. What is calories? Now, this is very important. All calories is, for the purposes of this video, and actually it is what it is, it's energy. Calories are a measurement of energy. So when you see something that is more calories versus less calories, what that is referring to is that that a food contains more energy or less energy. Now, it's true that fruits do contain things like sugar and are, in fact, measured in calories. At the end of the day, you're eating calories when you're eating fruit. There's no 0-calorie fruit. And a lot of that is made up of sugars, because fruit in general, for the most part, not all, is made up of predominantly sugars, which is, carbohydrates, right? So sugars gets a bad rap because people think, well, if I eat too much sugar, you're gonna gain a lot of weight because it affects various things in the body, like specifically regarding weight gain, it causes you to your body to overproduce insulin, and that is a hormone associated with gaining weight. Let me just set the record straight on that. And this is, again, from a practical standpoint, because there's a lot of half-truths in different things that you hear on the internet. I'm gonna set the record straight, make it very simple for you to understand. If you are not a person that is an expert on this, or you really haven't studied this too much, the fact of the matter is that calories is energy. Sugars definitely can cause an insulin spike because it's supposed to do that. It's a good thing that it does that. If your body produces insulin after it ingests food, especially food that has sugar, that's a good thing because your body is working properly. Hey guys, future me here, and I just wanted to jump back in here real quick and add one more thing to this video, and that is that if you are a person that has a specific medical condition, such as diabetes, then your body is probably not responding in the way that I'm describing in this video. So definitely consult your specific medical doctor regarding anytime you want to make any modifications or changes to your nutritional habits. And just in general, anybody watching this video, I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving medical advice. Consult your doctor before you follow any of the information that I talk about in this video. Anyway, guys, back to the video. Insulin is the hormone that the body, insulin is something that the body produces so that it knows when you're eating food, when to store food, when to allow the cells to unlock and open its doors, if you will, and uptake the nutrients. That's important. That's a critical part of the way the body functions. And if you're eating sugars in terms of natural foods, so sugars contained in natural foods such as fruit, the fact of the matter is that that's not really gonna make you overweight, because fruit also contains something called fiber. I'm sure everybody's heard of that. That's a buzzword on everything from, they're putting that word on, not only just healthy foods, but even foods that are kind of, they're still okay healthy, but like cereal, cookies, even some candies, have the word fiber in them, whole grain. The fact of the matter is that fiber is important, especially natural fiber that is contained in the natural fruit, okay? We're not talking about fiber that is, just whole grain fiber in a cookie or something like that. I'm talking about the fiber content that is naturally present in, fruits, and vegetables. But in this video, we're just going to talk about fruits. Now, fruits containing fiber, such as bananas. That's an example of a fruit that a lot of people shy away from, or they think in their minds that if you eat a banana, you're going to get fat because it's got sugar, and that's not good for a diet, or that's not good for maintaining or losing weight, for example. But the fact of the matter is that if you eat bananas or any kind of fruit, the fiber in the fruit is not really gonna allow you to overeat to the point that you're gonna gain weight from specifically the fruit. This is important because a lot of people think and mistakenly think that because they eat fruit and they're overweight, that the fruit is a big contributor to that, especially because of the sugar, the carbohydrates. And the fact of the matter is that couldn't be further from the truth. Because if you look at somebody's diet, if you look at your own diet, if you think that you're overweight, and maybe you're not overweight, but if you think you're overweight, you just want to lose a little bit more, just a couple of more pounds here and there, the fact of the matter is that your overall diet contains a variety of foods that you eat throughout the day. And if you were to really analyze it, the amount of calories that you're taking in from the actual fruits is probably a very small number as compared to the amount of calories that you're getting from other foods throughout the day. For example, if you're eating fast food, or if you're overeating other foods in general throughout the day, and in fact, if you're just eating bad throughout the day, but you also happen to eat fruit, the fruit itself is not making you overweight. The fruit is actually probably helping you because it's nutritious and it does contain fiber and various vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, which your body does need. And it's good to have that in high amounts, just so that you can make your immune system strong, keep it strong. And it does help in your metabolism because you're getting fiber. It helps in regulating how fast the body uptakes nutrients, because the fiber actually slows down the speed at which your body can process sugars and calories. And that's important because if you overconsume sugars too quickly, so for example, anything that contains table sugar, anything that contains a lot of concentrated sugars, any candies, any grains, any like pastas, rice, if you overconsume that, breads, if you overconsume that and not eat it too quickly, but when you consume that, especially if you overconsume it, which is easy to do, I keep stressing that, easy to overconsume these foods that don't have a lot of fiber in them in relation to the fiber that's in like fruits and vegetables. But if you overconsume bread, as an example, you will gain weight if you're in general overconsuming food throughout the day, because the sugars in the bread are probably going to be ingested by the body and processed at a much higher rate than the sugars that are present in, for example, an apple or something like that. So, and that has to do with how quickly the body can absorb the sugars. You want your body to absorb the sugars in a more natural way that the body is accustomed to throughout our evolution, which is natural, whole foods, unprocessed foods. Now, if you are interested in diving a little more deeper into the details of this specific aspect of how quickly certain foods get absorbed into your body, I'm specifically referring to how quickly certain foods that contain sugar, how fast that sugar goes into your body, then I recommend that you research something called the glycemic index. Now, the glycemic index is, like I said before, calories is a measurement of how much energy a food contains. Well, the glycemic index is simply a measurement of how quickly the sugars get absorbed into your body. That's good to know because generally speaking, you want to keep that low. You don't want a high glycemic index food or a meal that's high glycemic, because that means that your body's going to get rushed and overwhelmed with sugars. And at that point, two things are going to happen. Number one, you're going to oversaturate your body with sugars. But number two, you're also going to probably overeat. You're vulnerable to overeating more than if you're eating high fiber foods. And here is just very quickly why that would be. If you're over consuming high glycemic index foods, what's going to happen is your body is going to be oversaturated with sugars very, very quickly, which contains calories. Okay, so if you overconsume calories, you're gonna gain weight. That's a fact. But the problem is with the further problem of the situation with high glycemic food consumption is because the foods get absorbed so quickly into your body doesn't have the time to send out the signal to your brain that it's already full, that it's satisfied, that it doesn't need any more food. That's a problem, because now your body will eventually send out those signals and you will eventually feel full, but not before you finish eating the entire box of cookies, not before you finish eating way too much pasta, not before you finish eating, whatever the high glycemic index food is. They're all going to have that effect. So you need to be very careful when you consume high glycemic index foods not to overeat them. Maybe eat those higher glycemic index foods a little slower so that your body has time to process the fact that it is eating and it doesn't need so much food. And it sends out the signal to your brain to stop eating. So definitely don't think that high glycemic foods in general, like eating a baked potato, that is considered high glycemic compared to some other foods. That's okay, because if you don't consume a lot of it and you consume it with other foods that are medium to low glycemic and that have fiber, then the overall meal is not going to be as high glycemic. So it's really the combination of the things that you eat in a sitting that is going to determine the overall glycemic index. No, not just specifically one component of your meal, which brings me back to the fruits. Fruits in general, when you eat those, because they contain a lot of fiber, the absorption rate of those sugars are much more moderate. So the body can deal with it. The body knows when it's full and sends out those signals quicker than if you were eating something that is processed, concentrated sugars, etc., like cookies, candy, pasta, stuff like that. But if you think about it, when was the last time you ever overate fruit, that you can honestly say, I overate fruit? Now I'm going to put this into a visual, into an example that really makes my point here. When was the last time you ate? Because fruit does have calories, but for you to eat, say for example, apples. Apples have, depending on the size of the apple, let's say it has 100 calories per apple. Let's just say it could be 80 calories if it's a small apple. If it's a large apple, it could be 130 calories, give or take. Let's just say it's a 100-calorie apple, a medium-sized apple. Well, guess what? If you ate, 1,000 calories in your meal, that would be pretty high for the average person, especially if you don't exercise a lot, if you're not active a lot. That's going to cause you to gain weight, because remember, you're also eating other things throughout the day. So your overall caloric intake, which is very important, if you overeat in general, you're eating more than what you're burning, you're going to gain weight. But going back to that one meal of fruit, you just eat apples. Think about how many apples you would have to eat to equal 1,000 calories. Okay, and people can eat in one meal that contains pasta, cheese, mac and cheese, or candies, cookies, desserts. In one meal, you could easily consume multiple thousands of calories. It just depends on what you're eating, how much of it you eat. But it is not uncommon. If you look at the calories of foods in various restaurants, you're gonna see that a lot of entrees are like way over 1,000 calories. That's normal. And then if you add appetizer, dessert, you've consumed a couple of thousand calories easy. But when was the last time you consumed 1,000 or a couple of thousand, but let's make it easy, 1,000 calories of apples? You would have to eat 10 apples in one sitting. Try doing that. Let me know how it goes. You won't be able to. You won't want to. And if you did do it, you'd be suffering. You know, you wouldn't be hungry after the first, second, definitely after the third apple. You'd be done. And the reason for that is, even though the apples contain sugars, which people misunderstand that to mean that they're bad, the sugars in the apples also are accompanied by fiber, and they're wrapped in a natural, wholesome container, which is the actual real fruit. The body knows how to deal with that. The body knows how to work with that, and when enough is enough. It regulates itself. It won't let you overeat. The body is smart. The human body is engineered very well so that it will not let you overeat if you give it the foods that it is used to, that it needs, that's healthy, like whole fruits. So to eat 10 apples, good luck with that. That's not going to happen. So you're not getting fat by eating an apple every other day. You're not getting fat by eating 2 or 3 apples a day. That's only a couple of hundred calories. What is going to get you fat is the overall amount of foods that you eat throughout the day, the meals that give you a big concentrated dose of sugars, calories, fats, just calories in general, because everything rolls up into calories. You know, whether it's sugar, fat, protein, all of those things are basically energy for the body. So when you're taking in too much calories, too much energy, you will gain weight if you're taking in too much in relation to how much you burn on a daily basis. So make sure that you don't single out any kind of fruit as a bad thing to eat, unless you're, and I'm gonna just be totally honest here, and I'm gonna allow for the possibility that you're the one person that in the world that eats, 20 apples a day, 10 bananas, 50 mangoes, and you can, because it's possible, you could eat a lot of fruit and become, overweight. But more than likely, you're not that person. That's a ridiculous thing to do. No one does that. But it's not ridiculous to see that a lot of people are overeating other foods that on a plate might not look like a lot to them, but because of the way they're made, because of the processed nature of some of the ingredients, because of the amounts of fats, because of the amounts of sugars, those meals can make the calorie count at the end of the day add up way too much compared to what you're burning. Remember, you're not going to be able to out-train or out-burn a bad diet. And the reason is because you can consume thousands of calories in one meal or close to that. No problem. A lot of people can do that. You could, and just to make it even easier, you consume 500 calories in eating a little bit of pasta in just a few minutes. It's so easy to do. You can eat a burger, that's 1,000 calories right there, depending on the burger. And if you're eating French fries or not, it could be even higher. But if you try to burn that off, think about this. You could be running on a treadmill for an hour. The most you're gonna burn, and again, this varies depending on the individual, but the most you're gonna burn is roughly 400 calories to maybe 500 calories, 600 calories. So really, and that's running for an hour, or power walking very fast for an hour on the treadmill at a decent pace, okay? So you're not gonna be able to realistically keep up with the burn rate of eating thousands of calories extra over and above what it would take you to gain weight. You're not going to be able to do that consistently, probably at all, because you're not going to be able to do an exercise for 4 hours a day to burn 1,000 calories plus or more from stuff that you ate. So what you want to do is try to be active to burn some calories, and to also, more importantly, in my opinion, to keep the heart strong, keep your body in shape, conditioned, keep your cardiovascular conditioned, but try to maintain the outlook of it's the overall calories that count at the end of the day, not the, it's much easier to consume 500 fewer calories than it is to incorporate another hour of cardio in your day. It's much more practical to do it, just reduce your food consumption versus increase your burn rate. Now, like I said, I still want you to do cardio. I still think it's important, but don't try to use cardio as a way to correct things. You know, you might be able to do it slightly if you want to create a slight calorie deficit and you just overeat a little bit. But for most people, that weight gain is a result of just eating way too much. You're going to be pleasantly surprised that if you cut back on the amount of calories that you eat and increase your activity level a little bit, that in and of itself is going to make a huge difference in the long run. Okay, it's not going to be 1 or 2 day thing, but where you're going to see results in a week, but you are going to see results in the long run, tangible results. So, and these results are going to be regardless of whether you eat food or not, whether you eat fruit or not. So, in closing in this video, guys, just be aware that fruits are very healthy for you. The sugars in them are not going to hurt you. The carbs in it are not bad for you. The calories are there, but you're not going to overeat fruit because of the fiber content and the way the body holds back and kind of prevents you from overeating if you try. So with that said, guys, thank you for watching this video. Hope you got something out of it, and I will see you in the next one.